Well, thank you everyone for coming in to discuss this important issue, which is ongoing from last 21 days in Delhi and about over 2.5 months in Punjab itself. It's a long battle for the issues that matters to farmers. And I think we need to discuss and we need to be aggressive and come up with the ideas that how we can help this movement or how we can get this movement going. So I would like to introduce myself first. My name is Raman Singh. I'm an editor of Punjabi Trucking Magazine, also a CEO for North American Punjabi Trucking Association, work with Hidden Wealth Foundation, and several other things I do. So I would like you, everyone, to go ahead and go introduce yourself, where you come from, your name, and why you are here today, why you want to discuss this matter. So I'll start with Preet.
Yep. Hello. My name is Preet Bains, and I'm a recent UCLA graduate. And I was invited on this panel because I did my fundraiser for the hoodies that I sold to donate money to the Kisans in India and their efforts to protest. And I wanted to learn more and also offer some of my opinions and views on the situation.
I can go to Radhika.
Hi everyone, I'm a senior at UC Davis. I'm a global disease biology major. I grew up in Dubai, UAE, and apart from that, I'm also the managing editor of Other Collective. And what we do in Other Collective is really reach out to marginalized communities from Middle East, North Africa, South Asia. So this is an issue that's both personally and professionally very dear to me.
Iman.
Hi, I'm Iman Alamri. I'm a junior at Fresno State. I'm a liberal studies major. I was asked to be part and join this panel here because to offer my views and opinions as an American Muslim and like how I feel about this whole movement as well.
Puneet.
I'm Gill. I'm a fourth year at UC Davis, and I wanted to be a part of the panel because, I grew up, in a background of farming. So what's going on in India with the whole farmer issue, I want to be able to help spread awareness and, put my 2 cents into it as well. And I'm also a writer for Other Collective. And I think being a part of that magazine really helped me want to do more.
Absolutely. Karen.
Hey, my name is Karen Brar. I am a CPA for a private company, as well as being a director for the Hidden Wealth Foundation, which is an organization here in the Central Valley that focuses on bringing support to our South Asian community. And I have heard a lot about this, and I'll be honest, feel a little naive, and I'm here because I want to learn more. I want to see what is it that I can do from the States to help out the farmers in India. It's heartbreaking at the end of the day whenever you hear all these stories and then you watch the stuff that's going on in social media. So
yeah, exactly. So I would love to start the conversation with that. What's each and every one of you think of what is protest all about? So why it's there, or what's the roots of it, or how this became this big of an issue right now? So if one by one, if you can explain that, what you think of this protest, why it started, and why it's here where it is right now. So we'll go in the same line that we went from the first one.
Okay, so I believe that these protests began because most of the time protests begin in over the course of history when a group of people feels disenfranchised either by their government or a different ruling power, right? So right now in India, the farmers are feeling that, especially in parliament and by the prime minister, that they're being ignored, especially in the progression of the farm bills, and especially because nobody was consulted when they were being passed in parliament. They were rushed through, and it's kind of clear because it's clear that they want that the government is aware that these bills will hurt the farmers because they're not consulting them, and they're trying to push them through so quickly. So when a group of people feels that their voice isn't heard, they're going to resort to the tactic of peaceful protesting, which I think Punjabi people and people all around India have been very, very good at this. We're seeing the biggest protest in history, over 250 million people, and for the most part, I haven't seen anything about any of the protesters being violent or anything, even though the government is trying to implant some people that are trying to start conflict into the protests, and they're still not giving in to that. And I greatly admire that and their organization in this effort.
Radhika.
So I think for me, why this protest is happening, I think there's two sort of ways I look at it. One is within Punjab itself, there has been a big movement to kind of do like a land reclamation or like a wealth distribution, if we talk about it in the US context, because a lot of the land is concentrated with landowners, and there's a huge inequity with landowners versus land workers, farm laborers, and so on. And so that has been going on in the background. And then there is this whole conversation with privatization of agriculture. That was something that happened in 2006 in multiple states in India. And now that is coming to these regions. And so looking at those failures and being a part of this larger design of fascism and sort of capitalization that's taking over India right now, I think all of these factors coming together is what is really bringing people out onto the streets. And I think in general, for India, 2020 has been a year of resistance. You know, we started with the Shaheen Bagh protests. We went into so many different protests, migrant laborers walking across the country to reach back to their homes. And now, you know, here we are 1 year later, we're still protesting. So I think for me, that's how I look at these protests.
Absolutely. Okay, man.
How I view this protest, I came across it through just the masses of social media and whatnot. But how I feel like this why this is coming forward is because I feel like these protesters and these farmers are seeing that the business of agriculture is becoming more like the government's trying to make it like a privatized and more of a corporation, and they're kind of leaving these farmers like with basically nothing and nothing to live off of. So it's like I feel like they're fighting for just rights and their own justice in their own community and not privatize their own businesses. And because India itself thrives off the business of agriculture, so they're trying not to make it more of a business, but it's for the community in itself.
Puneet.
Yeah, so I also came across the protests off of like Instagram and Twitter, but how I view it is also like how the government, it's a clear attack on like farmers and how their business is run, and they're helping big corporations gain control over those regions, and the farmers are protesting to get their voices heard because the government didn't consult anyone that knew anything about farming. They consulted big corporations that wanted those lands and the control, and the farmers are protesting for their livelihoods, for their rights.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, even I've been looking into a lot of information provided or videos right now. I sent some to Kiran to look at it, and it shows that how that law has been passed. So Kiran, what do you think about it?
And that's what, I think that this protest is kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, right? But other than that, I mean, this isn't anything new where there's human rights violations, with not just farmers and not just in 2020, in general in India. So a lot of the videos and information that you send me on, to be honest, I feel so naive, and it's a bit hard for me to believe that this can actually go on and leaders can be this way in a country and have complete disregard for human rights like this. So I feel that it compels you to try to see what you can do and speak up. So for me, it's a human rights issue, and and this was just a progression, and this was the thing that's bringing it out more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things are coming up right now, and I was just watching a news too today. There was a one report came out regarding the PM's Care Fund that was started about in March, which was actually started as a PM fund and collect donations from the corporations. And now the things are coming out that initially it got set up on one day on I think March 27th or 26th. It got set up as a private fund. It's owned by a private company, so that no public information is going to be released about this. And second day, within one day, it got changed into a government fund, and but that information was released after 3 months, and that they retroactively they went back to that second date and fix it as PM fund. So it's and they are not willing to release any information about the funds collected for COVID-19 all this year in India from every corporation out there, and there's no trace of that funds, and there's no trace of anything right now, and they're not giving any information. So there's a lot of information coming out about this bill too, and we wanted to talk about particularly about this bill, that this how the way this bill got passed in the parliament, that was extraordinary. I mean, we see the videos today. Yesterday I watched it, and it was like amazing that how things were done forcefully. So the next question is going to be that, I'm going to stick around over here, that, what kind of atmosphere, what kind of surroundings, because you are youth, and, we elders, we have our own kind of like world that where we talk politics, because I came to US when I was 24. So I got pretty much half of my life I lived in US, and half of my life I lived in India. So I kind of like, I go in both sides. I can understand. But for you guys, I mean, it's hard for you to actually understand what's India is all about. But I think, uh, because of the media today, you guys, what kind of talk is going on among youth today, that how they look at this, that what is going on right now, what they think, that how they take this.
So I think being born here in America, I'm more, I would say, privileged in the fact that I'm used to our government caring more about us, and instead of the way it is in other countries. So I think that sort of entitlement, I think if you want to call it that, can make us feel even more strongly towards having, like, needing to make a difference in this matter in the country where our families, originated. So I think for that reason, I've seen a lot of discourse amongst people my age about how they want to do as much as possible. A lot of people were saying how they wish they could go to India and take part in the protests right now, but given COVID and everything, it's difficult to travel. How they say that they see their parents and their grandparents in the eyes of everybody that's protesting, because this new age of media and everything, we're seeing everything live, right? We can see videos like as they happen, they're posted on Twitter or Instagram or anywhere. And I think for that reason, there's a lot more support than there would have been for in older generations. And I'm really proud of our generation and the way that they have responded to this.
So my background is a little different. I did not grow up in a democracy. So I think just trying to understand how, like, what are the workings of different kinds of government, and at the same time going to an Indian school and learning about India through that lens, I think I'm connected to that aspect very strongly. And I think especially after coming to the US for college, I think I was exposed to a lot of different ideas about democracy, where it's like the capitalist form of democracy really stood out to me. And that's something we see in the US as well. And so trying to draw parallels between oppression in the United States and then how that is similar to so many things we see in India, I think that really helped me develop my political thought. Like that's just personally for me. And then in terms of conversations we're having with the youth, I think the positive trend is that we're seeing a lot of people use their social media, speak out, talk to their friends, families, and so on. But I think one thing that we're also seeing is that a lot of people are straying away from these conversations. And, there's this whole discussion about I'm apolitical. But I think when you say something like that, you're part of the majority discourse and you basically agree with what's going on and you're trying to not counter that. So there is a problem with that as well. And then specifically speaking about the farmers' protest right now, I think we're seeing a lot of unanimous support coming in from just Punjabis, Sikhs across, but there is a little bit of apprehension when it comes to other communities, especially in the youth and in the diaspora. So I think we as students who are part of these networks need to maybe take that little extra step in trying to motivate, people who might not feel as connected if they don't have a farming background in their families and so on. So, yeah.
Iman.
So the kind of conversations that I've been having, like at home, my house, like I was talking to my sister. She's a professor at Princeton, and she wrote her dissertation on the United Farm Workers Movement and how the Arab community was really involved in it. So like we were talking about like, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of very related to this, almost similar to what is happening in India, the farmers' protest, and it made me think about how we're all intertwined in a really good way. And it's just like that we tend to forget that like we may be of different backgrounds, different races, and from different parts of the world, but we're all like the same person. We all have these beliefs, and we're all fighting for the same kind of justices. So it kind of talked about how like there's farmers in every community. There's farmers in the Arab community and farmers in the Latinx community and whatnot. So it's just something that I think is also very important for all of us to just take part in and realize that we could help and bring more awareness to it. Because it's not just India's issue to deal with. Like, we're not going to just leave it with them. We also have a part in this as well. I think that's only one of the bigger ways that we could bring more awareness and more change to this whole movement. If we come more as a united front, there'll be even a greater impact for this movement in India.
Yeah, I think also for like through social media, and also just for our generation, because of how enabling social media is and getting all these ideas out there and getting all this information out there, more people are able to see it. And I've seen non-Punjabis, non-Sikhs, people that honestly don't really know like what the issue is. They've been reading on it, and I've seen them posting on it. I've seen like my friends who are not Indians, they've been posting, they've been spreading awareness, trying to help in any way they can. And the way that communities have just come together. I mean, you've seen the Canadian protests, Britain, it's not just only Indian people. You see, Caucasian people, Mexican people, you see a wide variety of people coming together to support this cause, because they know that it's not just affecting India. In the bigger picture, it's going to affect everybody because of imports, and just, they know what the issue is. So it's really good to see that in today's society and community that people come together when there's issues like this going around.
Yeah, Radhika, you were saying that because I'm one of those like, oh, I don't like politics, I don't like religion, I don't want to get involved. But more and more, I don't think there is anything that doesn't flow into politics, right? Anything big, anything that's going to make a difference. And I know that you mentioned feeling entitled. I think it's more gratitude on, me too. I've been here since I was 7. I feel so grateful to be in a country where we're given the space to be compassionate, to be able to think about others. And in India, the environment isn't such. And a lot of us that are not from India, I think that is the beauty of it, is that we are, we've got space to become more, be more compassionate. And I am very proud of what I see. My gosh, I think this is the first time that I have seen where it wasn't like a religious battle between people in India. I've seen so many videos on, different religions and cultures, everybody coming together. And I think that is what it's going to take for India as a collective to come together to say no more of this, and make it a true democracy. So, and I agree, everybody has to step in and care, regardless of whether they like politics or not, right? So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's very true. And I think that right now, what our main thing is this, that, what kind of situations or what kind of hurdles are we encountering in getting information? If are we getting all the information in the right manner, or we have to run around and we have to get the information from non-trusted sources? I think that is also a very big issue right now, that the information which is coming in. So I would like to ask openly to everyone right now that, if you want to jump into the conversation, that, what do you think, that information flow, definitely the mainstream Indian media is not giving out any information. And we recently just came to know in last couple of 2 or 3 days that Facebook and Instagram is taking the hashtags out. They are banning the hashtags that are with the farmers right now. There was a protest yesterday in Menlo Park in front of Facebook headquarters that was centered towards this problem, that because Facebook is invested in Reliance, the main corporation out in India. So I think this is just becoming a totally different story right now, that, how it's not like over there, it's the corporations from here too. They're trying to, push this movement down by banning all those things. So what do you guys think about that? That is, yesterday we, I did not had a chance to talk about it, but yesterday there was a protest, and today, I would like to get your views about this, that how these corporations are started helping them too now.
Yeah, so I think in not meaning to in any way undermine the movement that's happening right now, but I think the overarching issue in most of protests or problems like these with governments is that the corporations are like greatly unified across the world, like across countries and borders, right? Because they have similar interests no matter what country they're in. They want to make more money and exploit laborers. They want to exploit anybody that doesn't have the means to stand up to them, because they have so much power with their money and influence. And I think Facebook and companies like Google and Instagram all standing in solidarity with corporations in India trying to do the same thing that they've been doing, in America and other countries for so long, with Facebook and their violation of privacy, and Instagram with a recent story came out how they were violating the rights of their users by having their cameras on without their permission. And I think in that way, what's going on in the world right now is a big movement towards it's anti-corporation, right? At least when I grew up, I was told that the government is to be trusted, and it's what keeps us protected from corporations like this. But then as you get older, you learn that they're in bed together, right? That they're one and the same. And often you see people in government positions, like Raman, you were saying yesterday, how they're given these positions with no qualifications whatsoever other than that they're rich, right? They're not qualified to do this. Our education secretary in America, Betsy DeVos, not qualified for anything, actually. And she's given this job. And there's so many other positions like these that you don't come up in mainstream media. And I think that's even worse in India, how you were saying, Raman, that Modi's degrees and everything were fake, and how their stories weren't matching up. And yeah, I think that's a big problem, the solidarity that corporations have with each other.
Well, absolutely, that is true. There's issues that are coming up right now that it's not serious. They're very, very serious. I mean, the things that they're happening. So anyone else wanted to talk about on that, how this Facebook thing is coming up, because this is emerging as a totally different thing right now.
I think, like, just to acknowledge that this isn't anything new. Last year as well, in November, they had banned the hashtag sick. I don't know for how many hours, but I remember that it was banned. And then I think this is a very common strategy of, like, not just banning hashtags and so on, but even doxing people who post content related to political resistance online, and maybe blacklisting them and blocking their accounts and also revealing their identity. There has been a lot of discourse now around trying to protect people on social media and giving people tools, because people are watching and you're not safe, and we are trying to use this platform as a means to organize and get people to do things and follow all these action items, but we're being watched. And I don't know, like, I feel like the Facebook protest, I remember someone made a comment earlier this week, I think, or last week, saying that Facebook India was apprehensive about, not doing these things because they felt endangered for their own employees as well in India. And imagine for a corporation to have been, like, caged into sort of the environment of fascism that is, developing around them, that they now don't feel safe to protect their users, despite all of the responsibility they have when we sign all of those, I give my details, and so I think there's a huge privacy breach, and this is nothing new with Facebook or Instagram, but there needs to be a larger movement for digital security, and people need to be trained. People who are using social media, I feel like, especially for a lot of kids who grow up with social media now, they need to be trained on how to be secure on these platforms.
Not just kids, adults too. I think I could use some training. But regarding the hashtags, I know hashtag was banned for a while, and then they said that somebody complained about discrimination, and then they allowed it again. But as far as support farmers, I actually kind of looked it up, and it's still active in regards to the farming protest. I don't see anything about it being blocked on Facebook, at least.
If I can quickly respond, I think it's a little complicated. So recently, Facebook changed up a lot of, Instagram changed up a lot of their algorithm, which is, it basically suppresses a lot of this content, and all that really shows up on people's feed, and all the accounts that show up are ones who are doing some sort of sale. And other than that, I think there are multiple hashtags as well. So there's the support farmers, there's hashtag Kisan, Ekta Mazduri, Ekta, and so on. And it also depends on what kinds of posts end up showing up, because the number of times a post gets reported, then it gets hidden, and similar posts start to get hidden. So it's really complicated, and they hide it under the banner of, like, this is hate, but then you also see a parallel, overflowing content of Hindutva posts and so on your feed, and those don't get blocked, even though they are like hate speech. And then what happens to free speech? And so I think there's, like, a really fine line there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of because of, like, media corporations and how they all stand together, there's a lot of censorship going around about what's true about the protests, and a lot of misinformation being spread, because I've seen multiple posts about people making this like a Sikh versus Hindu issue, or it's a Khalistani movement. Like, they're trying to discredit and censor what's really going on. And there's a lot of people on TikTok saying that they've been getting shadow banned for trying to spread awareness about the issues. So there's a lot of issues going on revolving censorship.
Yeah, I have seen that too on a TikTok and Instagram. I mean, if you're trying to follow somebody, or if you're trying to do something, I mean, it just does not give you the content you're looking for. It'll just mess you up, or just give you something that you don't even look for. Yeah, definitely that thing is happening. And specifically, I was looking at YouTube also, that when you search on a YouTube, you search for the protest, the only videos are showing up over there which are like 5 days, 6 days, 7 days old. There's no current videos unless you just go to the right source and look for those. Other than that, you won't see it in the search, the current videos. I mean, only in the search will come in, which is like at least 4 to 5 days old.
So, Roman, I want to know the video that you shared with me. I'm still in shock after I watched it. Is that real, right?
Which one?
The one that I posted it on my page. I rarely will post stuff like that, but it was shocking to see how the decision making was happening whenever.
Oh, the one in the parliament? The one in the parliament? Yeah, that is actually a real video because actually the opposition got charged for recording the video within the parliament. So they are saying because they were not doing the right thing, that's why we did this. They broke the mic, they did this, they did that. So they're blaming the opposition. Opposition, I mean, in that video, we can see that they were shouting, they were going nuts, and there was somebody standing right next to the speaker telling him to read, and he was constantly reading, and he was not even take his head up and see that how many people say yes or no, and he was just counting, and ultimately he said the law passed. I mean, that's the world's biggest democracy in joke. I mean, that's just a big joke of democracy in front of the world media or people around the world. But again, these are the things that why these things are happening, why these things are coming up, why people are mad, because the things were not done in the right manner. So, I would like to take this moment to see that, what exactly you folks think that can be done, or anything you folks are doing or trying to do to see that how we can help this movement, how we can do things to make sure that things are right. I mean, as in the media, I also try to forward only the news that I kind of like try to verify, try to go through myself. I have seen a lot of people, they just, once a video comes in or any information comes in, all they do is just forward. They don't even listen themselves fully. So I think those are the things that very critical that these days, listen to everything before you share it, before you post it. Think about it, even you agree with it or not. I mean, does it make sense or not? I mean, I have seen so many videos on YouTube right now that they have a caption on it about some particular thing that this is said in this video, but you go through the whole video and there's nothing like that in that video. So it's a visuals what they put on the video, and it's what's actual content in the video is totally two different things. So it's just like, maybe people, they're just trying to get more views, they are just trying to get their channel up, popularity. So what do you guys think that, what we can do in this age and time?
I think the best ways to stop misinformation is that when you see it, at least try to report it, because most platforms have a option where you can report it as misinformation abuse, and usually within 1 day it's taken down, right? So if we try to get ahead of that and like prevent it from going to people that won't fact check it like we do, then I think that's the best way to do so. At least from our side, I think from the cause that we're supporting, I haven't seen much misinformation. Most people supporting the farmers have been pretty responsible about the type of content that they put out there. It's very informative and not misleading. But I can see how like an Indian government or like Indian nationalists would try to use that and try to foster support for themselves. Definitely.
Yeah, I think the last point you made is really valid. Like, I've seen a bunch of accounts that on social media right now, what they do is they try to use this social justice terminology and turn things around to sort of serve their own, Hindutva nationalist propaganda. But I think from our side, one thing we can do that is really sustainable would be to start supporting a lot of the independent media that is right now functioning. And we see it even in the farmer movement right now. Farmers are only speaking to these independent media sources because they know their words are going to be twisted and turned around and try to discredit them, as Puneet said. if they try to speak to some of the national sold media, because, 22 of the media houses that are part of the national TV belong to Reliance, which is the company that is run by Ambani. And so it's really important for us to keep all of this in mind and make sure that when we're investing in independent media. And that even means not giving TRP to some of these national media sources, complete boycott. Like, I think the last time I watched one of these channels was last year. But now I just really focus my time and energy on all of these independent media platforms. And there's so many good ones. There's Quint, Print, Wire, Livemint, there's News Laundry. There's a whole lot of them out there doing really important work, and they don't take money from corporations because they don't want to serve anybody's agenda. They want people to people to pay for the media, and we all support it as a community, and then they will report for the community, which is why, at least for me, I think media is like the fourth pillar of a democracy. And that pillar is really shaking right now in the Indian context. And so that, I think that just really plays again into some of the human rights violations because there's no reporting coming out. So I think one thing that we can do that is sustainable, that is going to go beyond just this movement, is supporting independent media.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to support those channels that they are very small. Why can't we start one thing that make a list of the channels that you guys watch? News Laundry, yes, yesterday I watched the first time, and I see their content is really very supportive. They're placing the facts in there. There's another one, Lillentop. I think that is also, the name is a little bit techy, but I think their content is really good and valid, and they have points. I think let's put that on the agenda, that will make a list of the channels, YouTube channels or independent media channels that they are producing good content, and maybe at least we can start promoting them, start putting them out so that they can start watching those channels. That's one good suggestion came out, I think. What do you guys think about it, Puneet?
I think that's a really good idea because a lot of mainstream media is spreading a lot of misinformation, trying to discredit what the farmers are doing. There's a lot of accounts also saying like, oh, look, the farmers are having like a party in Dili when they're, just enjoying the little things that have been donated to them from funds that were raised like over the world. And they're trying to make it seem like their protest is for nothing. So I think a big thing is supporting those small medias, and also like Preet said, fact checking pages before we share them. And also when we donate, to make sure we're donating to credible sources, because change.org got found to not even be giving their funds to what the cause was for. They were using it for some other stuff. So I think big thing is definitely fact checking media, the Instagram post, and also where we're donating, because we don't want to be giving our money to just some random place that's not going to help the.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. The second, I think the idea is to put up a list of good sources to donate, list of people who are working in that specific area, so that we have a list of those organizations who are actually working down there on the ground level. So I think to make a list of that is also a good suggestion. So we should do that. Iman.
I definitely have to agree with Puneet right there, because I didn't realize that change.org is not a good corporation to donate to. In the light of the Black Lives Matter protest, I was donating some money to as well through change.org, and I realized that most of the profits was not really going to the people, it was going to the corporation and whatnot, and it was not really spreading the word or helping the people at the ground level as well. So I think it's really important that we should create a list or some kind of like chain reaction or feed or something like that to spread to all people all over, to let them know like, hey, these are good corporations and good charitable businesses that will help out in the right way and like give the money in the most responsible and credible way. And in terms of like the misinformation, there is a lot of misinformation out there, and agree with Preet as well. And he was saying that when we come across those, we could just report them. And there's also that fact that you can remember that our social media feed tends to alter itself to our own liking. So we may see all these posts in terms of like what we want to see, and like, and yes, that is still good. We're still getting the right information, but we have to remember that there's also another side to this whole protest, and to keep in mind to be informed on both ends of the spectrum, so that we're not just extremely on one end of the spectrum at all. So yeah.
How about you, Karen?
Yeah, right away, whenever Radhika started mentioning Indian media, I was thinking, I don't even know who that is, right? What are the credible sources? And that would be an absolutely amazing idea. Every time, even though today, Raman, you sent me that video, I kept thinking, oh God, how is this credible? How could this, you know, is this right for me to put up? But how nice would that be? You know, if it did come from a credible source and we can spread the right message. And same with the charitable organizations or the funds that they've got going. It'd be nice to know who's doing what and you know, be able to choose where you want your money to go. And I personally don't have any connections in India, but it would be great to have a person here who's connected with somebody there. I think that puts my mind at ease a little bit. So, and as far as the farmers getting massages and stuff, it touched my heart when I saw that, because, you know, most of those farmers, they're probably never known that there were machines that can massage your feet, or have never had that experience. So it filled me up to see all of that. And once again, just the unity and the love that's going on right now there, you know, everybody, they've got langar going, and they're just coming together as a whole. So my thing is, whoever's going to think the worst, that's fine. But I loved it. I loved seeing that.
Absolutely, you know, that is a good part that media is bringing out. A lot of people, they're bringing it out, but I think there's another side to look at too. You know, so far, I think 35 deaths already happened because of this protest in Delhi. Every day, you know, one or two people are dying because of the cold, and people, they are getting hurt. There are a lot of other things that they needs to be brought up, and they needs to, you know, needs to bring to the attention of the people that, you know, I mean, think about it. A government is not telling those stories. They're not telling those things that, you know, these things are happening. I mean, what kind of government it is? I mean, in the protest in the capital of a world's biggest democracy, the people, they're dying on the road, and they are not even caring. I mean, they are just not even talking about it. And yesterday, you know, again, I saw, actually today I saw another news that they tried to organize rally of so-called farmers on the other side of Delhi with BJP flags on it and all that. And when the real farmers, they you know, they confronted that rally, those people, they just ran away. Their flags were scattered all over on the street, and they were nowhere to be found. So there are a lot of things that are happening, a lot of things the government is doing that which needs to be exposed. And I think from our side, from here, we have, I think, good minds, good hearts over here that we can discuss these things. And I think putting up a good agenda, good work is needed now. I think it's needed more than ever. And so we got these two things ongoing. And then again, another question that was in my mind going on, that, you know, I mean, we think that, you know, this is because everybody's talking about Punjabi. So it's a Punjabi, it's a Sikh, and it's pretty much in the world, it says just why Punjabi, why they are shouting when the whole country is not saying anything. What do you think? It's just Punjabi, or it's every farmer out there?
I think it's about humanity as a whole. And I really think that that is the one thing that needs to change in India. Don't let the government put, you know, wool over your eyes and have you fight each other. And I think that for the first time, it's a revolution. I mean, it's the first time that I feel maybe I'm just paying attention to it more, where I'm seeing people not getting fooled by the government and not turning against each other, but it's more of a coming together. And and it's not, yes, Punjabis are known to be warriors and, get out there and, ever since the British were in there. So they've got a reputation for that, but we also have to recognize every other race and religion and culture that's coming together to support. So it's not just Punjab, it's farmers everywhere. It's not just humans of Punjab, it's humanity, all over India. And I think India as a whole is a beautiful place. We are so saturated with spirituality. We are all spiritual people. I don't think there's a place you can go where they don't believe in a higher power. They don't, and to me, that is belief in love. Okay, so along with it comes unity. Every religion, whether it's Sikh or whether you're Muslim or Hindu, the religions all teach that there's one God. If there is a one source that we believe in, and we believe in oneness, and that is, I feel, where India is starting to see that they're not, and I love it. And I really have hope that this time it's going to be the win of the people, not of the government. So I think it's not just about Punjab or Punjabis, it's about every culture and religion there.
Yeah, Preet.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I completely agree. There's, I realize just from what we see, there's more coverage, it seems like, from the Punjab side of the border, in a single border, because that's what we're seeing. But there's farmers from all around India protesting, right? 250 million people, that's not possible with just the population of Punjab. I think it's only 27 million. So the reality is it's mostly other people, right? I'm glad that our people have been able to be kind of the face of this movement and try to push it forward as much as possible, but it definitely needs to be acknowledged that it's a collective effort.
Yes, I think, another thing that I have seen, I was discussing with Karen too today, that, there's a silos that the big containers that they are going to be used to store grain and all those things. They are being built for over a year. Last year, they started building those in Haryana. They're going to need those after these farm bill pass, because if they all be buying, they'll be storing it somewhere and selling it later on the higher price. So how come these things are being in construction since last year, or it's been completed in several areas? Then the laws got passed this year. I mean, that sends a kind of like a, scary thing that, okay, well, right now everybody's saying that, the laws were passed in their cabins in the big corporations, and they give it to Modi to take it to the parliament and just get it passed. There was no parliamentary, there was no committees. There's no discussion, there's no open talk. Now we were talking yesterday about that they did not discuss with the Kisan Jathebandis or farmers or anybody else. They didn't even discuss with their own committees in the parliament. I mean, they didn't even give them a chance to take a look at it. So I think it's just irony that how these things are done, and that's the reason why there's a lot of gray area in these laws and how they were passed.
Yeah, it really seems like a lot of it was just like they were doing it for months, but keeping it under the sheets because they didn't want anyone knowing about it. Like, it's their plan to, take away these farmers like basic rights and their means of living. And I don't think it's a Punjabi issue at all. I think, getting through each state, like I forgot what state it was you mentioned yesterday, the same thing happened there, and like their income decreased significantly. I think they're just trying to go through every possible state they can and affect the farmers, significantly by taking away, their means of income and the MSP, the minimum sale price. They're really going to affect every farmer, not just Punjab. They're working their way to all of India.
Exactly. So I think, you're right. And again, the thing is that all these things were happen, but I think the main thing is this for us right now to think collectively and, if we have any differences, I hope we don't, but put it away and just start working together and start, putting up a plan together. Maybe it's a small, I'm not saying, going to say that it's going to be a big one, but maybe it's a small, but put it effective one, the one which makes a difference anyway. One person a day too. I mean, it compounded. If one good person goes out and tells another good person, it'll go out very quickly. So as I said yesterday, I was trying to reach out to Sikh Coalition. I was not able to. I didn't got their call back yet, but hopefully I'll get their call back today, or maybe I'll start emailing them on the weekend because most of the time they're busy on the weekends. So I'll try to get hold of them until Monday, Tuesday, whenever I can, and I'll report back to you guys on our group that what they said. And if we have a petition already in process, then we'll go ahead and carry that out, and we'll start helping them out. What else you guys think that we can collectively do that can make effect?
Go ahead, please.
Oh, I was wondering, yesterday we were discussing how people on the ground in India are saying they don't need more funds or like money, thrown at the problem. But I was also wondering, because we were discussing how the single border is the one that Indian media is focusing on more to act like, oh, these people have pizza and gyms and massage chairs, and that the other borders aren't like that. People are dying from the cold. So maybe I was just wondering, can we find organizations that help out people, protesting everywhere in India? Or maybe there isn't like, framework set up for that, if we can find something. I was just wondering that yesterday after our talk.
Definitely, yeah, that is a good idea to find out that, which are the, because yeah, that is true too. I think, I know one of them, Khalsa Aid, got three or four booths on the different borders. They are really well planned. I don't know yet that they are on every front, but definitely it's a good idea to find out that, all those neglected borders. I think there's another one on the Jaipur side. The Jaipur Delhi road is also being blocked for last 3 or 4 days, and again, Haryana government is doing the same thing what they did in the Punjab side. They're blocking all their freeways. They are digging big holes in the freeway so that people they can't pass through. So that border, I didn't heard any current news from there. That is also another thing to worry about. But a good idea to get the idea that where are on these borders, that which other organizations are helping, or are they been taken care or not.
If I can quickly mention, I've been seeing that there's a mass movement to redirect all of the resources coming into Singhu border now to the Tikri border, which is where we're seeing people from around, I think it's 10 different trade unions of India coming. And these are, as I was speaking earlier, these are the Dalit farmers and the Mazhabi Sikhs and all groups that have been caste oppressed. And this, I think, comes back, to the earlier point that we were saying, that how 250 million people are coming together. It's because people are coming across caste lines, people are coming across gender lines. Like 80% of Indian women, agricultural laborers, are women farmers. And it's really interesting to see that only 13% of them own that land. And today we're seeing them become the face of this resistance along with Dalit farmers. And so I think, yes, we should support the redirection of these resources to them at those borders as well. Because in this movement, who knows, we might be able to end or, to some extent, eliminate some of these long lasting legacies of oppression that we have within our agriculture system anyways.
So I think with this, we wanted to take an action plan right now to see that, we have a couple of things that we're going to do. That one, the correct media outlets, we're going to all search, figure out which ones are the good ones, try to go through their, videos, try to, see that how good they are. I mean, you know, we've been watching as you know, Radhika is watching, and I've been watching a lot of small media outlets. So we try to make a list of those, and another list is for the our the associations or organizations that are working on the front line. Make a list of those that were to donate, you know, make sure that they're legit. So those are the two things. And the third thing, we're going to talk to you know, Sikh coalition to see that the petition is ongoing right now. So other than that, if there's anything else you wanted to add so that we can make a game plan and we can start executing starting from this weekend, I'll say.
You know, I want to add something. I'm not trying to rattle cages or anything, but like the protest we went to in San Francisco, it was great, but towards the end, it started veering, you know, towards Khalistan. Okay, so I'm not pro, against, or anything like that, but I feel like this is a time where we put things aside for later, and this is a time that Punjabis, Sikhs, and that have been fighting for certain things, we need to kind of stay focused on what this is about. And yes, there are other things to be done, but let's get wise and stay collective with this. You know, so that is the only thing. I feel like a lot of people were disheartened because it started to take on the protest towards the end started to take a different direction. And I'm not saying it's good or bad, but I just feel like this is not the time for it. Yeah. So I think that all of us need to remember unity. It's not just Punjabis and Sikhs, it's everybody. This is a fight for all of India. So that is the only thing that I add.
So if we can take like a closing statements from all of you to see that, you know, what you think, and this kind of debates we can do more often and try to create an idea plan that where we can work together. So I'll start with Preet.
Yeah, so I was thinking that just going forward, it would be very useful for us to have, you know, a combined effort into trying to make a difference in other ways than just, you know, the regular donating money and things. That if everybody can, you know, try to think of unique ways to help and raise awareness, like how we were talking pretty extensively yesterday about getting in touch with elected officials. Last night, actually, right after our Zoom call, I got an email from Senator Dianne Feinstein, and she addressed the problem, saying that she had talked with the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, and how they would take the next option on intervening maybe in this issue if possible. And it was kind of, you know, a political response just to maybe say that she could address the issue, but I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. And if we keep pushing, then, you know, politicians at even higher levels might be made aware of this issue in India and feel that they have to do something.
Definitely, Iman.
I think a way that we can get more people out there and spreading more awareness, we get more of a collective effort from everyone, and farmers even like internationally, because like I said previously, there are farmers in every community. So I feel like if we get more of that, more people from that, those communities, from the farmer communities, from every, like the Arab communities, from Latinx, from the Hispanic, from everywhere, we can make this more of a, not just a movement in India, but more of an international movement, and get more awareness and let people know like this is actually a real important issue for these political officials to recognize and take part in, and make more of an effort to help out and make a difference. And I think that has to start from the ground up, and that has to start with us letting people know that this is like you said before, it's this is a humanity issue, this is a human rights issue. It's not just for you know, it's for everyone. It's not just for farmers. It's a human rights issue.
Neat.
Yeah, I think on top of just spreading the awareness over social media and donating, really just reaching out to people with a higher or like a more public image, you know, elected officials, celebrities, athletes, just, DMing them, emailing them, just trying to get them on board and, behind and help spread awareness. Because the bigger platforms that we're able to, encourage and kind of get on board with this idea, the more the farmers are going to get help. Because these people that are elected officials and celebrities, they have millions and millions of followers, and if those followers start seeing it, they're going to start wondering too, start reading into it, and hopefully start standing in solidarity with the farmers in India as well.
Yeah, Karen?
I absolutely agree. I think that from where we're at, the best way that we can help, all of the different ways that we mentioned, make sure that we're do the best that you can, that you're sharing good information, try to get connected with the right organizations as far as funding. And definitely, I think there's many of our community members that are well connected with congressmen and influential figures. So that is a great start, and if there's already a petition going, let's all jump on board opposed to creating separate ones. So if Raman, you can connect with State Coalition, see what that petition is all about and how we can all jump on board and support it. These are all great starts.
Radhika?
I think I have 2 points. One, I really agree with Iman in that this is a global farmers movement. We've seen privatization fail when it comes to agriculture, especially in Latin America, Lebanon, Turkey, elsewhere. And so really rallying that international support and looking at failures in other places and trying to convince governments to turn such decisions is one effective strategy. And also, I would like to say that boycotting any sort of goods at a personal, individual level within your families, etc., that are part of the larger empire of Reliance, Ambani, Adani, and so many other groups. Now there's such a big movement happening in Australia. I think it's against Adani's new mining initiative happening there. And I think these acts of resistance are really powerful. We've seen it in the context of the apartheid in South Africa. We've seen it in the context of Palestinian liberation with the BDS movement. And here as well, it hasn't got momentum yet because we haven't looked at it. But I think because Geo and Reliance are so heavily intertwined into our everyday lives, once we start noticing these things and trying to look for more sustainable alternatives that do not suppress people, especially minorities, I think that is one way we can make an individual difference.
Exactly. And I just saw yesterday too and today too how Geo, the Reliance company's phone service came in India, and they dropped the rates. First, they dropped the rates so low that the BSNL the Indian government company was not even able to fight with them and compete with them, and it actually basically died out. And so now it's all private. So what is happening right now that Radhika, to your point, that yes, boycotting is also another thing that we can do. Right now, I saw the news today. It was not a news. It was somebody posting it on their personal that in Punjab they are cutting off electricity to all the towers of Geo. So anybody, because all their towers is their power. So if the towers are not there, people that don't have phones, and they definitely will start switching. And there was another thing that happening because of this, when they were saying that they are changing phones service from Geo to another 2 companies. And actually Reliance last week on the 10th filed a complaint against those 2 companies that they are running an illegal campaign against Geo to switch, port the numbers to their companies. So Reliance already filed a complaint against that. So yes, boycotting is definitely works. And Z News is another one that which is becoming a major player in that. And definitely I'm trying to work with my few friends to go ahead and put up a petition for that too, so that we can gear up a support against Z Media. So yeah, let's do this collectively, all these things that what we talk about, and let's put them together. Let's start working on it, and I'll try to work with Kiran and see that we can put all these things together. First of all, we can go ahead and go share this on our social media, on my social media, and then from there we can go ahead and go pass it on to share it to all of our social media and try to push it as much as we can. And starting from next week or this weekend, we'll start working on the agenda that what's our next action plan. So I think with that, I wanted to thank you all for becoming a part of this panel, and spending some time together to find a cure or try to find something that will help our community, help us and help our community to grow and get away from this stupid madness.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.